Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Rolling out the red carpet for hour number 2. So glad you could join us, and we'll get back to your phone calls at 702-257-5396 in just a moment. Hang tight if you're on hold. But Donald Trump, as I mentioned, he held a few press conferences over the weekend, and he made an accusation that I think is a very serious one in regards to ventilators. Mm-hmm. And he accused, at least New York, of lying about how many ventilators they need or how many they may have. It's a serious accusation. I don't think it has any merit to it. So I want you to listen to a question that a PBS reporter asked the president in a press conference at the Rose Garden. Have a listen to this exchange.
You've said repeatedly that you think that some of the equipment that governors are requesting they don't actually need. You said New York might not need 30,000. You said it on Sean Hannity's Fox News. You said
why don't you people act? Let me ask you.
You said
why don't you act in a little more positive? It's always trying to get you. And you know what? That's why nobody trusts the media anymore.
My question to you is, how is that going to impact?
Excuse me, you didn't hear me. That's why you used to work for the Times and now you work for somebody else. Look, let me tell you something. Be nice.
Mr. President, my question is...
Don't be threatening. Be nice.
Don't be threatening. Be nice. Well, the president just said that he never said that. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The day before he did, this was Donald Trump on Sean Hannity's TV show. Have a listen to this.
New York is a bigger deal, but it's going to go also. But I have a feeling that a lot of the numbers that are being said in some areas are just bigger than they're going to be. I don't believe you need 40,000 or 30,000 ventilators. You go into major hospitals sometimes, they'll have 2 ventilators, and now all of a sudden they're saying, can we order 30,000 ventilators? So, look, it's a very bad situation. We haven't seen anything like it. But the end result is we got to get back to work.
Right there in that clip, he is questioning the amount of ventilators that some of these hospitals are requesting. That's all the PBS reporter was asking. And by the way, he interrupted her, and we didn't play the entire clip, and he also bashed CNN once again, and he said that's why your ratings are so low. For the record, Mr. President, CNN's ratings are the highest they have been in 15 years. Once again, the president attacking someone, and when he attacks someone, he's not even factual. He goes after this PBS reporter, who, by the way, asked a very legitimate question, asked about the ventilators, why he's questioning the ventilators. He said, I never said that, so there is no defense. Okay? The president lied. He lied on national television once again, and ladies and gentlemen, I have a problem with that, and you should too, because it's wrong.
And by the way, Brian, he expanded on that in the press conference yesterday on this topic, and he actually went a bit further and said that there were health people, whether it be doctors, nurses. He insinuated that in some way they were walking out the back door with protective equipment or with masks or something, as if there was something nefarious going on with health officials in New York State, which is absolutely beyond the pale. And JD and Brian, doctors across the board that were on national television and throughout the media last night were appalled that the president of the United States would make an accusation like that. It was completely and utterly unacceptable.
Well, so he had someone from one of the companies that actually delivers the masks, one of the biggest companies in the world who delivers the masks to those hospitals in New York. And he's right, those hospitals are filled all the time. And before all this took place, they were using 15 to 20,000 of these masks a week. And now they're using 300,000 masks a week, 200 to 300,000 masks a week. And Donald Trump is saying, how is that even possible?
Donald Trump has no idea. He has no expertise in the situation whatsoever. He should not be commenting because he doesn't know.
Chris, how are hospitals using 180,000 more masks in a week?
I'm not going to answer that question because I'm not aware of
they aren't any busier than what they were. It's a legitimate question.
No, it's not, because JD,
Chris, the number is going up 200%. I'm sorry, 2,000%.
JD.
It's not an unreasonable question to ask. And again, these masks obviously have some cost associated.
It's not a question that he asked. He posed that he thought there's something nefarious going on.
He said reporters should look into it. I don't know what's going on.
Why would he say that?
Why would he tell reporters? Because he wants to know why the numbers have increased by 2,000%.
Can I respond to what
in an already very busy hospital?
This is sad. So the president wants to question stuff like this.
Yes.
But here's what the president doesn't seem to want to question. At least I didn't hear him talk about it in press conferences, and that is this. The fact that our doctors and our nurses and our people on the front lines are having to reuse masks. Some of them are dying. There are doctors and nurses that have lost their lives. There are plenty of doctors and nurses throughout the country that have gotten the coronavirus because they are not being protected. So instead of debating how many ventilators a hospital might need and talking about how and discredit some of these hospitals for the requests that they're making, what the president should be doing is questioning why our people, our heroes on the front line, including cops, by the way, are not protected.
And Brian, that was also addressed. The person who came up and spoke yesterday about the fast test also talked about how a company in Ohio is working on sterilizing these N95 masks up to 20. No, it wasn't a question. No, he actually came up and had the conversation.
Okay, so I'm glad that happened.
Yes,
but
that did
again,
take place.
Why is he not questioning that as much as the ventilators and the masks?
He did question it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had someone come up and explain what's going on, Brian.
Well, he's the one who attacked the reporter for asking that question. He seemed very passionate about his view on the Sean Hannity show. And can we all agree that he lied in answering the question to this reporter?
Obviously, he did say that on Sean Hannity's show. I agree.
He lied. He lied.
But he did say that on Sean Hannity's show.
So did he lie?
Well, if I say that he lied, then you're going to say that, you just admitted to calling Donald Trump a liar.
Did he forget or
because he lied?
You're going to run with this and turn it to me.
I'm not going to run with it.
Into Donald Trump being a liar. I'm not going to let you do that.
Okay, well, I do that every day.
Did he say that on Sean Hannity's show? Yes.
So
and that reporter, it's possibly 73 years old.
He misspoke.
It is very possible.
He had no reason to berate
it's possible he had a Joe Biden-esque type of gaffe.
No, Joe Biden doesn't.
In that situation.
He berated the reporter, though. That's not what Joe Biden does.
You used to have a job at New York Times.
The reason Donald Trump was angry at the reporters because he's right. Bloomberg, CNN, PBS. They were all there to get gotcha moments out of Trump. No, that's not covering the press conference. They're trying to get Donald Trump to say something to use against him. That's all they want, and it's very clear. And every single person who watched this was like, "This is embarrassing." I watched with my wife, and I said, "This is absolutely embarrassing the way this is being handled." Trump did a great job during that press conference, in my personal opinion. He went well out of his standard situation. He said, if we just let her rip, there'd be 2.2 million people that could die of this. With the Trump administration and mentioning 100,000 or 200,000 deaths, that's totally different for the Trump administration. What they're doing right now is they are, for the first time ever, they are under-promising in hopes of over-delivering, and I can appreciate that pivot. But Donald Trump is saying, in this time, why are you making this political? Why are you and your media outlets making this political? And do I think that New York needs 30 to 40,000 ventilators? Absolutely not. No chance. You know why? Because about 1.6% of cases that actually show up in New York hospitals end up in critical condition. And ventilators can be reused again. There's been 1,000 deaths. There's been 60,000 cases. The death rate is going down as we speak. I said it last segment. It went from 525 to 360. Today, there's been 33 deaths in 18 hours. It resets at 6 o'clock every single day. So obviously, it looks to me like it is dropping. And hopefully that drop continues. If that drop continues, we will come nowhere near, considering the fact that we're all social distancing with relative success, we will come nowhere near 100,000 to 200,000 deaths in the grand scheme of things, and that is great because again, the Trump administration, for the first time ever, is trying to underpromise and hopefully overdeliver, and I can appreciate that.
So that's a lot to chew on.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we were talking about the press conference and the president's reaction to reporters that were in the press scrum. There's a lot of reporters there, JD, that are excellent journalists. There are a lot of reporters there that do a great job. Those two reporters that he berated, it was absolutely 100% unacceptable. They were just there asking legitimate questions. It was not gotcha questions. This whole notion, okay, that the mainstream media is just a bunch of biased hacks that are just looking to ask gotcha questions to Donald Trump when we're in the midst of a global pandemic is absolutely and utterly ridiculous.
Well, okay.
And I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know how much more I have to expand on it because I just think it's a completely ridiculous notion.
How is it ridiculous when you look at the situation?
It's ridiculous.
With the chloroquine phosphate, with the guy from Arizona and his wife who decided to drink fish tank cleaner.
Yes.
They died of it.
Yes.
And the media said that Donald Trump made them do that. At what point did Donald Trump ever say?
Which journalist said that?
They never said Donald Trump told them to do that.
Several outlets.
The
several
woman
outlets.
herself,
the woman said it herself.
Said that she heard Donald Trump mention that word, chloroquine, on television.
So does that mean that without a doctor's prescription, you should take chloroquine phosphate?
Obviously not, because it was stupid to do it.
So she's a moron.
I'm saying they're not stupid for doing it.
So she is legitimately stupid.
She still heard it from Trump.
So how is that Trump's fault in the media pushing that?
We got to get back to the phone calls,
fine.
but I'll respond by saying this: morons listen to morons.
Yeah.
702-257.
They were stupid for doing it.
702-257-5396. That's a different subject, though. We'll get to that. Let's go to Dave. Dave, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Hey, perfect call. Hey, you know what? It was really good to hear that he has all the supply chain companies out there, Owens & Minor, Medline,
I agree.
Personal Health, and these guys explained it. And about the masks, there's a problem not just in New York. These things go to the hospitals, and they flat out disappear.
Okay.
I mean, somebody should really go investigate it, because this is what I've been told.
Okay, so you're on
medical supplies.
You're on board with the whole notion that there are medical professionals, doctors, nurses that are hoarding these supplies, or in some way walking out the back door with them?
They're walking out the back door with them, absolutely.
So what's your hold on a second. Let's go with this for a second. Hold on, Dave. Let's go with
again.
this.
Dave
hold on.
He delivers medical supplies, Brian. Keep that in mind.
Okay. So hold on a second. Dave, what's your source? Who told you that?
I deliver. I've talked to a couple receivers. They're reluctant to send them. They're in the receiving departments, and they're holding on to them. They're under
So your source is a couple receivers are reluctant to send them out. That is your source.
This is under someone's directing them to do this.
Because medical professionals are stealing them out of the hospitals.
Right, and this is in Nevada?
No, it's more. And it's just a matter of they're
Dave, I'm willing. Dave, I get what you're saying. Dave, I get what you're saying. I am sympathetic. Hold on, Dave. I'm sympathetic to your concern. But when I ask you a very direct question of what are your sources, and the only answer you can give to me,
I'm not going to throw the hospital.
I'm not asking you for names.
And you
hold on
have
a second.
to do that.
Excuse me. Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm not asking you for names. I'm saying your only source that you can give us is a few distributors who are not shipping out the masks, that are holding on to them, and you're correlating that to doctors and nurses that are stealing masks. And I mean, come on, that's insane, Dave. I'm sorry.
It's common sense.
And I don't believe that Trump actually said doctors and nurses. I just think he said that they were coming out, that they were going out the back door. He didn't say who was directing anything. He didn't mention anything specific.
So David
Copperfield. But the President of the United States, to the caller too, the President of the United States, there was numerous health professionals that have gone on national TV the last 24 hours. You have doctors that are experts all over social media as well as national networks that were highly offended that the President of the United States would have the notion that there were health professionals out there somehow hoarding or outright taking safety supplies out the door, or anyway stealing things.
Let me be very clear.
That they would need at the hospital. Makes no sense.
We'll take the next caller, but let me be very clear on this. I appreciate the phone call. I am not about to go on the air and attack the heroes, the men and women, with zero hold on, let me finish. With zero evidence to back it up. Now, is it possible that there might be, out of all the doctors, the great doctors and nurses and the heroes out there, is it possible that there might be a few of them that are taking some masks and trying to sell them? I hope not, but I guess it's possible. But the idea that there is someone stealing hundreds of thousands of masks and then selling them on the black market is completely and utterly ridiculous. And unless you have specific sources, I'm sorry, I'm not going to entertain it. Let's go back to the phone lines at 702-257-5396.
Good call, David. Thanks for your real life experience.
Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Ron?
Good morning, gentlemen. I called you guys on Friday, and I suggested that you guys would have a debate with Heidi Harris.
Sure. Can I respond to that, Ron? Ron, can I respond to that? Let me be very clear once again, and I will give you the same answer I gave you on Friday.
Well,
I will. Hold on. Let me just answer, and then I'll give you a chance. I will 150% debate Heidi Harris anytime, anywhere. I believe she is on the air, but I will gladly debate her either on her show or my show anytime, anywhere. Is that clear enough?
I agree with you. Now, let me tell you something. I called her this morning, and I offered her the same thing. I said, I never said your name or the radio station. All I said was, would you debate somebody else from another radio station? I understand you are a Trump supporter, and I understand the other guy is kind of like a middle-of-the-road type of guy. Mm-hmm. Would you debate him? You know what she told me? She says, I don't have to debate anybody. All you got to do is read my 2 books I wrote.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
So, Ron, what does that tell you?
You know, well, there you go. She's supporting books, and she's a chicken. And I told her I was at Stoney's 7-8 years ago when that Palin was running from Alaska, and she told the people to come down there. They're going to have a big thing, a
Ron,
big together, and about 1,000 people from Alaska showed up. And guess what? When they found out Sarah Palin was going to show up at her place at Stoney's, they all just...
Ron, there's a word for that. Ron, hey, Ron, let me ask you. There's a word for that. When somebody doesn't want to debate somebody because they might have different views, what would you call somebody like that?
I'd call them a chicken ass.
Yeah, there you go, Ron. Ron, I appreciate you giving us that information. Thank you very much.
Good call, Ron.
And I appreciate the phone call.
Brian and JD, you guys got caller bookers here, looking for setting you guys up with guests on the show.
Listen. I think Heidi's a very nice lady. I don't have any problems with her, but there are plenty of people out there. I'm going to name somebody else, Wayne Allen Root. You know, he complains on social media that liberals will never debate him and people will never come after him. And then when you question him on anything, all of a sudden it's an ambush because he's a coward.
And it wasn't really even a debate. You just said, hey, you said these ridiculous things over the course of your career, over the course of your career to pander to your very, very, your audience, which likes to hear ridiculous things, obviously. Can you defend them, or will you apologize for any of these things? And he just said no. So it was very interesting.
Just read my book. Unbelievable. Yeah. How pathetic is that? 702.
You're a putz.
Yeah,
you're a putz, Brian.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Whoopi. Whoopi, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Whoopi?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm always interesting. I'm surprised you guys haven't hung up on me yet, and I'm not in the Bellagio. At least, okay. But anyways, with Dave saying about those masks and stuff. But anyways, you know, Trump, he's only human. And you got to look at him. I was born and raised in Vegas. And I'm 55 years old. I know of Trump, watched his towers go up. He's a businessman. When people are going to realize that he's kind of like independent. He's not really for the Republican. He just wants to make people happy.
So can I ask you a question, Whoopi?
Bag on him. Sometimes he makes me mad. He made me mad in school.
So, Whoopi, Whoopi, hang on. Cool. Whoopi, hang on a second. I'm not going to hang up on you, but I'd like to have a good discussion.
Someone's taking those masks.
Okay, Whoopi, hang on a second. Okay, Whoopi, this is why I hang up on people, because you're not listening. I'm glad to keep you on the line, but please listen.
Well, look what you and JD did.
Okay, Whoopi, are you going to pay attention, or are we going to have a discussion, or are you just going to rail off things that don't make any sense?
What did I do, Whoopi?
Are you going to listen now, Whoopi? Can we have a discussion?
Trying not to tell him that he was right, you know, because he was going to carry on with it.
You believe Donald Trump tries to make everybody happy. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go with that for a second. All right, so let me ask you a question then. A month after his wife had a child and he decided to have unprotected sex with a porn star, was he just trying to make his wife happy?
Hey, people make mistakes, don't they?
That's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you. When he attacked John McCain for his war service, was he trying to make John McCain happy when he said he didn't respect him as being a POW? Was he trying to make all war heroes happy when he said that?
Heck no, he slept with his wife.
Heck no. When he said that illegal immigrants are rapists and bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people, was he trying to make those illegal immigrants happy?
You know? He's only human, though.
Oh, so your response to everything he's... Well, Jeffrey Dahmer's only human, too. Have a nice day. You're only human. What a ridiculous excuse.
Good call, Whoopi. You know,
horrible call.
Comparing Jeffrey Dahmer to Donald Trump is a questionable decision by you, Brian.
You know what's questionable?
I probably wouldn't do it again.
Okay, well, I will do it again because I was making an analogy.
because they're both humans.
The reason why I was making an analogy...
Or you said they're only human. Jeffrey Dahmer's only human.
You know, when you make an excuse, they're only human, and then she makes an ignorant comment like he tries to make everybody happy. How about all the people he fired? Was he trying to make them happy? It's just an ignorant statement. That's all. I gave her a chance. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Bob. Bob, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Hi. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Bob. What's on your mind?
I owned a business, a convenience store in Las Vegas for 32 years. And nobody would believe the amount of theft that you have in a small business. There's a staggering statistic statistic about small business failures, and I don't know the statistic right offhand. I can't remember it, but in the first couple of years of business for a small business, about 80% of small businesses fail. I don't know if it's quite that high. Let's say 60. And out of that 60%, about half of that is due to employee theft. So I certainly believe that medical supplies are being ripped off by people in hospitals, and not necessarily.
Okay, so if that's the case,
so wait a minute, you're making a tie to medical supplies and safety equipment getting taken to the failures of small business? I don't necessarily know what exactly the tie you're making is.
Well, the tie that I'm making is that any business where you have supplies going in, there's going to be theft.
I don't doubt that. And did you hear what I just said? Hold on a second.
Trump brings up a very valid point.
Okay, a very valid point is that
2,000%. I mean, there's a problem someplace.
You're talking about individuals that are on the front lines who are trying to save lives, that are trying to battle a global pandemic, and you're talking in disparaging ways. Not you. I'm talking the president is. So how? I mean, I can understand what you're trying to say, but it's not. This is not the time or place to be calling out healthcare workers.
No, Chris. The question is, how are these hospitals going through 280,000? Or 180,000 more masks in a week.
Yeah, I mean,
if something is,
it's a global pandemic.
But is a deviation 2,000%? I mean, to me, if it was up to 50,000 or 40,000, fine, that makes sense. But 15 times, 10 times as much.
But all three of us, JD, here have no idea.
That's a pretty serious number.
In this, we don't know what we're talking about. We don't know what supplies or how many supplies they use or how many how much protective equipment doctors or nurses use in a hospital. We have no idea.
Well, I have a solution. Maybe it's a Democratic hoax. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I mean, we'll probably hear that from the president next. This thing about the masks disappearing and the ventilators. It's a Democratic hoax. That must be what it is. It must be doctors and nurses who just don't like Donald Trump, who he won't call. It must be the governors who don't like him, who he won't call. Maybe that's who it is. Listen, the bottom line is, there are a lot of people that are in serious danger, a lot of people that are dying. There's a lot of people that are very, very sick. There are a lot of doctors and nurses that are heroes. I'm sure we all would agree with that are in harm's way. We want to make sure that they're protected. That's number one. We got to get them masks. We got to get them ventilators. If there is a case out there where somebody's stealing masks or stealing ventilators, then you know what? I want those people prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. We don't have that information. We don't have that evidence. And until we do, I'm not going to accuse heroes of committing felonies. I just refuse to do that.
Trump was not ever accusing doctors.
He absolutely did.
No, not of ventilators.
That in the press conference.
No, he was saying
JD.
that New York has had a stockpile of ventilators for a long time, but they keep asking for more. They're pretending like they didn't have enough.
All right, we got to take a quick break. Chris Wynn's here. That's my partner, JD Sharp. I'm Brian Shapiro. We're going to take a quick break. We'll take more of your phone calls on the other side. I know we have some people waiting patiently on hold. I promise you we'll try to get to all of you. 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you do want to be a part of the program. It is 257-5396. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more of your calls on the other side. You're listening to the Vegas Take, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Monday. We'll get to your phone calls in a sec, and that number 702-257-5396. Hang tight. We'll get to you in just a few minutes here. I want to have a little bit of fun because, I'm not a big Judge Jeanine Pirro fan.
Come on, Brian. You watch that show every weekend, I guarantee it.
Not a big fan. Excuse me, Mr. President, do you take vitamins? You have so much energy. She those are the type of questions she asks the president. And apparently I talk to the president on a weekly basis. So her and Sean Hannity have a lot in common. Anyway, so Judge Jeanine does her weekend show. It's a once-a-week show, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, I'm not a big Judge Jeanine fan. I don't know the exact time of the show. But the first 15 minutes of the show, she was nowhere to be found. And the excuse that Fox News gave was that they were having, quote-unquote, technical difficulties. Now, she's doing the show from her home. And as she does come on 15 minutes into the show, just the visual of it, we'll put it up on our Twitter page, she looks extremely disheveled and inebriated. We're going to play the audio. Maybe it doesn't do enough justice, for lack of a better term, justice with Judge Jeanine.
I like that.
But here is Judge Jeanine Pirro, who appears to be inebriated doing her show over the weekend. Have a listen to this.
The possibility of reopening everything on Easter Sunday and in a way where we could kind of come out of this quarantine, as loose as it may be, that we're involved in. And Lisa Booth, the Fox News contributor, is here to talk with us tonight about whether or not that's even a possibility. How
Judge,
are you,
would you
Lisa?
like to go out and have a drink?
I'm good. Things look a little different. I'm at home at my parents' house, so...
Wow. So anyway, if you want to see the visual of that, it's all over the internet. Her hair is all over the place. She looks disheveled. She shows up. Apparently, she's on the air 15 minutes late, and she says it was technical difficulties. She's been known in the city of New York to be seen at some of the bars drinking a little bit. She's not afraid of the alcohol, which is fine. But I would love to know the truth behind this. I want justice for Judge Jeanine. I wish somebody gave her a blood alcohol test. I really do.
Brian and JD, she wasn't quite Joe Namath on Monday Night Football with Susie Colbert, but she was right along those lines, JD. She was right there on the fence. As far as you could tell, there had been some type of alcohol intake.
What do you think?
And she had that the hair was like all like disheveled, and she had like a little it was like a rat tail on the side of her head that you could tell it was like it wasn't what a lot of national personalities are doing now, where they're at home and they got the 5 o'clock shadows and they don't necessarily have their hair kept nicely. But it was a situation where you could tell it was I got to jump in front of the camera here and get things done.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Chris. What do you think if there was a man in studio with her at the time? Do you think she would have pulled a Joe Namath?
There's a very good possibility that there could have been some public displays of affection, JD and Brian.
Right.
If there was a fairly good-looking silver fox that was in the room with Judge Jeanine, it could have gone down that way.
I imagine if somebody on CNN did that, I wonder all the right-wing talk show hosts would be talking about it nonstop. We're only going
to they had Brian, right? Don Lemon was on. Remember, I believe he was on a New Year's Eve special. And he was absolutely partaking in some extracurricular activities.
But that's different. That's New Year's Eve. All
right,
I get that. Let's go back to the phone calls here, 702-257-5396. Listen, we're talking about a lot. We're talking about Trump versus the PBS reporter. We're talking about Trump refusing to speak to specific governors because they don't say nice things about him and the government. We're talking about the 30-day extension. No Easter. What a shocker. You could talk about some of these FDA drugs. We could talk about Jeanine Pirro. Give us a call, 257-5396. Let's go to Janice. Janice, you're up next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Janice?
Brian, how are you?
Good, Janice. What's on your mind?
Good. You know what? I think Jeanine and Pelosi should get together. What do you think?
Boy, I wonder what that discussion would be like if they're both sitting at a bar having a beer.
Yeah, how about that? What do you think about that?
I think that would be great. In fact, they should get their own radio show. I'd listen to it.
That's what I said. I believe in my heart there's something more big than this. I told you before last time, and I think it's going to come out eventually. This is what I believe. And as far as McCain goes, I used to love that guy, but you know what? There was a lot of things about him that wasn't very nice when he was in the prison, because his daddy, I heard, it was a general.
Wait, you're talking about John McCain?
Oh, he was a prisoner of war. You're talking about?
Yeah, what you should do, Brian, if you don't mind, I think you should research about McCain a little bit. You might feel a little different.
I'll never feel different. Hold on a second. Let me be clear. I'll never feel different in terms of the President of the United States saying he doesn't respect John McCain because he was captured. A man who was a draft dodger.
But there was a reason, Brian.
Well, you know what? Tell me. What's the reason for a president of the United States doing that?
I don't know the whole story, I'll be honest.
So you don't know the whole story, but you want me to do research on it.
She would like you to learn the whole story.
Well, let's be honest, though. The ship has sailed on John McCain. John McCain is no longer alive, so I don't know what good it does anybody to go back and.
As well as I did.
Well, I mean, but go back and reflect and try to dig up dirt.
She was referring to Brian's checklist.
Let me be very clear on this once again. I can't believe I have to repeat myself. Yes. Never, under any circumstances, is it okay for anybody, especially the President of the United States or somebody running for president, to attack someone's service because they were captured as a POW, especially when you are draft dodger yourself. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Carlos. Carlos, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Carlos?
Yeah, good guys. I'm gonna ditto that guy because on the mask, because the local hospitals here, they're disappearing, and it was from the employees, and it's not good PR. That's probably why you didn't hear about it. And
Well, probably because also it's in Nevada, where obviously we have a large number of cases, but we're not necessarily to a point, right, where we're talking about hospitals not having enough safety equipment, and that I hope we're not, and I can't believe, again, like Brian just said, I can't believe I have to say this. We're talking about people who are first responders, people who are on the front lines, health officials stealing or in some way nefarious activity going on with protective equipment. To me, this is just beyond the pale that we're even talking about this.
Is it unreasonable to assume that maybe someone at the hospital has family and friends that they want to protect? They take 10 or 15 masks, they bring them to their family and friends, and in a place like New York State or New York City, where you've got probably close to 500,000 people that work in these hospitals collectively, if 10,000 of them grabbed 15 or 20 of those, there's your math right there. That's not
you're putting forth
that's
a
not
scenario,
an impossible. Well, based on what Carlos just said, that's not an impossibility.
That's like me saying
and
now.
And that would actually.
That's why Sisolak won't let the prescriptions, because they're family and friends of these.
That's
right.
Carlos. That's
you're
not.
You're talking about.
That's a different topic now.
Hold on.
You're switching over.
Carlos, even though that's a different topic, what you said is not factually accurate. So let me be clear. Okay, as Barack Obama would say, let me be clear. The bottom line is, if you're in a hospital, hold on, if you're in a hospital and you have a doctor can prescribe any of those medications. The governor is not stopping medical professionals from prescribing drugs.
He did that. He said it's because they were depleting the
rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and malaria.
In his statement to the Board of Pharmacists.
And here's my problem with what you're saying about the
mask.
And
he did backtrack on that statement.
Here's my problem, what you're saying about the masks and stuff. That would be like me saying, and if you're a Trump supporter, you probably won't like this. That would be like me saying Trump's father, Fred, used the N-word left and right. And the reason why I think he used the N-word left and right is because he had a history of doing racist things. Now, I don't know if he did that, so I'm not going to accuse him of that. It's reckless to do that, and I think it's reckless.
That's a total.
But if you word it like
that's
JD,
a total false equivalency.
But Brian,
it's not unreasonable to assume that possibly some of these, based on what Carlos is saying and what the medical supply person that called him before was saying, that it's not unreasonable to assume that it's possible that some of these doctors and these nurses are taking masks, knowing they're in short supply to give to their family to protect them.
Yeah, ifs and buts or candies and nuts. But the way JD's framing it, it's not unreasonable, I guess, either, that what Brian said, that Donald Trump's father used the N-word a bunch of times, right? It's not unreasonable that we're saying that, right? I mean, that the way that you're phrasing it and the way that the caller is presenting this is as if all this activity is taking place, this illegal activity is taking place, and you're accusing people who right now are our heroes. They are the ones that are. I'm
not accusing anyone of anything. I'm saying obviously
illegal activities.
The head of these companies that make these masks went on and said we're sending almost 2,000 or 20 times the amount of masks we've been sending over the last 5 to 10 years to these specific hospitals that are and I'm saying that I'm putting the reasoning behind that. I'm applying the math to make that make sense, and based on what I said, that would actually make some sense if that were taking place.
And I'm putting the reasoning behind it that Fred Trump had a history of being a racist, so I'm putting history behind it, and it's reasonable that he probably used the N-word.
And this whole debate, guys, is based on what we're talking about: the president of the United States making claims that he has no evidence of. By the way, there's no evidence that the hospitals are taking stuff out the back door, or that there's some kind of disparity between what supplies they're getting and what they're actually doing.
The evidence is based on the amount of product that is actually being sent to these hospitals.
No, it's not.
That's
the evidence is based on Donald Trump in his own mind in a press conference making an assumption off of nothing.
The spokesperson of the company that makes the masks and sends them literally said we're sent.
That's what happened.
This guy fills the orders. Yes,
that's not what happened.
He said they're using 200 to 300,000 masks a week.
JD,
when it was 15 to 20,000 masks.
You're telling me the
that is the evidence.
Agreed with Donald Trump in the press conference yesterday and said, "Oh yeah, the president is exactly right. We do have a disproportionate amount of supplies that are getting sent.
Here's what happened.
Supplies that are going out the back door.
Here's what happened.
Is that what you're saying?
Here's what happened. The spokesperson actually said it first. He went up first and mentioned the disparity of masks, and then Donald Trump said, "Oh, by the way, I wonder why that is. You should look into it."
that.
Yes, he did do that. Yes, he did do that.
No, he didn't.
He specifically mentioned how there's a much larger need for product in these hospitals, and they have to fill these
marginally. But he didn't say that there was something nefarious going on.
No, he didn't. He said
that they're going out the back door.
He said that they're filling 20 times the orders that they were filling before.
Yes, because we have a global pandemic, and they have to change them every time.
But again, Chris, the
math
doesn't make sense. These hospitals were already full.
It doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to the health professionals.
Listen, the math doesn't make sense to a lot of Republicans. When I say that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, the math didn't make sense to them on that either. 702-257
Electoral College, Brian.
702-257. Well, I'm just saying a lot of Republicans. The math didn't make sense.
Totally irrelevant.
702-25. No, I just think ridiculous.
Another false equivalency.
Ridiculous claims should be called out. 702 and I'm not about to sit here and accuse and you're saying you're not accusing anybody of anything.
Not accusing anybody of anything.
But you're saying the numbers don't add up.
I'm putting a
going
possible story to the math. That's all I'm doing.
702-257-5396. What do you think? Let's go to JJ. You're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, JJ?
Hey guys, how are you guys?
Good, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, well, we got a president that finally said something really good, which you guys, nobody's covering all this crap because the coronavirus has taken front stage. The federal government and Trump's decided that the gun shops, gun manufacturing, ammunition is an essential part of the business right now. And that being said, right now, since we are all focused on the coronavirus, that there are some gun bills coming up in the government that I believe one's 5175. They want to ban all semi-auto everything.
Right.
Then they want to. Then Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren. She's got
hold on a second. No. You're not going to get away, sir. Sir, I was glad to have you on, but when you're going to make a Pocahontas comment like that, you lose all credibility. And by the way,
topic has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Why the hell are you talking about
this has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
And gun bills at a time when people are dying and we are a global pandemic? What is wrong with you? You're the type of person, I don't want to buy a gun. You should have a psychiatric evaluation because you sound nuts.
No, he's just mentioning other bills that are being passed in the process, which I think is a reasonable conversation to have.
You think that was reasonable to talk about Pocahontas?
Did I
we haven't mentioned guns.
At what point did I mention Pocahontas there, Brian? I said the bills that are being passed. You're twisting my words into mentioning Pocahontas. I never said anything about Pocahontas.
Because he was bringing her up in that conversation in talking about gun control.
I didn't mention Pocahontas. I said bringing up the bills. The gun bills.
He wanted to blast a Democratic senator. The caller, that's what he was trying to do there.
The problem I have is that, and I think this is a pretty logical opinion. By the way, he brought up Pocahontas. I didn't say you did. And the reason why I hung up on him is because he did bring her up.
But you lumped me into the category with him because he brought up Pocahontas. And you assume that since I was somewhat defending what he was doing, that I was thinking the same thing with Pocahontas.
Okay, well, you were legitimizing the phone call, and I think it's a disgrace right now to be calling out Democrats about gun control at this time when we are in an era that we probably will hopefully never see for the rest of our lives. That's all I'm saying. It's the same reason why I get angry at people that want to talk about Joe Biden's gaffes now. It's the same situation.
Okay, it's a disgrace to talk about this, to spend 2 minutes of our 3-hour show talking about this.
The reason why I hung up on him is because he called her Pocahontas. Obviously, he wants to attack Democrats. Yes, I think that's a disgrace right now. The same reason why I think it's a disgrace if you call up into a radio show and you want to talk about Joe Biden's gaffes. The same reason why when somebody calls up and wants to talk about Hillary Clinton's emails or Benghazi or Barack Obama. Yes, I think that's a disgrace. And I think it's also a disgrace for Democrats who want to, talk about the Republicans who want to talk about the election and want to talk about 2020 and want to talk about the political ramifications right now of the election. I think that's also a disgrace. I will attack both sides. We should be talking about relevant subjects right now. None of those, to me, are important in this era when so many people are dying.
I'll tell you who's doing that the most is the left-wing media right now, Brian.
Okay, well, I can't speak.
They are making this completely political.
Okay, well, I can't
speak.
And
it looks to me like they would actually like this to continue. They don't want these medications to work. They want this to continue based on what I'm seeing.
What Democrat do you think does not want these medications to work? If you're going to make a claim like that.
No, name one media outlet that has been positive about hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. That was
CNN.
That was
all of them. If there's anything that's legitimate or that's to the forefront that is actually valid, then all of the networks are going to talk about it because we all have in the end, JD and Brian, We all want the same thing, right? We all want this pandemic to go away.
Yes.
We all want to go back to work.
I heard about some of the studies.
It's not one-sided.
The FDA and some of the studies, CNN was reporting the actual facts. What CNN doesn't do, which is what some people do, and CNN has not done this from what I heard, is saying that it's 100% foolproof plan, that it's going to work.
No one, actually, Trump himself said yesterday, we don't know if it's going to work. It may work or it may not
There
work.
are some people on the right that are making claims like that. Wayne Allen Root was one of them.
Well, there have been, for that particular medication, for that drug cocktail, or are you talking about colloidal silver?
I'm talking about medication in general. There are people on the right that are making claims that are not true. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Clyde. Clyde, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Clyde?
Clyde, are you there?
Yeah, listening to you over the past week, I agree with you on one thing, that you ask people a simple, direct question, they won't answer it. Mm-hmm. And they have a tendency to change the subject on you.
Clyde, I have no problem with disagreeing with people. You know, a lot of people have the misconception, oh, Brian, anybody that disagrees with you, you cut them off and you hang up on them. No. Anyone who disagrees with me, even if they call me a name, I say, sir, can you please, or ma'am, can you please come up with one specific example of what I said that isn't true? Can you come up with one specific... I try to give people an opportunity, and if I'm not going to keep them on the air for 5 minutes if they can't come up with one. That's all I do. I think I'm actually pretty fair with people. It's when people accuse me of things and then they can't come up with examples. It's not my fault if they can't talk on the radio. Don't call into a radio show if you can't put together two sentences. You know where I'm going, Clyde?
I agree with that. And in fact, all you're utilizing, Socrates, the father of philosophy, his whole Socratic method was asking questions. That's what you do. You can't get a straight answer from them, and they keep changing the subject on you. So you're right to hang up on them. Okay, have a great day.
That.
Bye now.
I appreciate.
Next call, Clyde.
I appreciate that, Clyde. Thank you. 702-257-5396. I believe who's next? Lance. Lance is our next caller. Go ahead, Lance.
Hey, what's up, Lance?
Hi, JD. You're the reasonable one here. I just heard Andrew Cuomo make the statement that there is theft of the mask and the protective gear. And
all right, let's go back to what you just said. Let's go with that.
Brian,
sure.
If you want to.
Sure, no problem, Lance. No problem, Lance. But let's start one by one. The start of this phone call, you said JD is the only reasonable one, so I would imagine that means I'm not reasonable. Why am I not? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me finish. Nope. Let me finish. Sir, let me finish my question, then you can shout, okay? That's thank you. What have I said in this show that you consider to be unreasonable, and let's talk about that.
Come on, you talk about the president. I mean, the
what
media
specifically?
Is out to get the president.
Sir, I'm going to give you a second. Here's a perfect example of Clyde, our last caller. I'm going to ask you again to be specific. You just said, basically, I'm not reasonable. I'm going to give you a second opportunity to be very specific. What have I said in this show that is not reasonable?
JD.
And you can't answer a question. You guys always do that. Be specific. What have I said that is not? In fact, I'll give you any show. Any show I've ever done. What have I ever said that is not reasonable? Go.
I mean, when you make a statement about the president... And
what
about
statement?
Fox,
be specific.
You make a statement about Laura Ingraham and Sean
What
Hannity.
Specific statement?
I mean,
be specific.
What the hell?
What specific statement?
Fantastic. They are great Americans.
All right, they're fantastic. What did I say about... Okay, all right, let's go with Laura Ingraham, since you can't even come up with one statement that I've said, and you're boring me, quite frankly. But let's go with Laura Ingraham for a second, okay?
I'm glad
I've called her a racist... Okay, I've called her a racist, evil witch. And the reason why I've called her that, a couple weeks after Nipsey Hussle died, she decided to attack him and go after his lyrics. LeBron James speaks out about the president, and it's negative. He doesn't like the president, and she tells him to shut up and dribble. She doesn't tell, anybody white that comes on her show to shut up and sing. Ted Nugent's been on her show multiple occasions. She doesn't tell him to shut up and sing. She has a history of going after minorities and African Americans. That is why I call her an evil racist witch. I'm so glad I could answer your question and educate you.
I think the smoking gun with Ingram was, despite the fact that she does go after African Americans on a consistent basis, when Kobe Bryant died, she didn't even acknowledge it.
So you're being reasonable. Yeah. I guess I'm being reasonable too, then.
Well, I've agreed with you on Laura Ingraham for a long time, Brian.
I know you have. I know you have, and I appreciate that, and we both agree on that. But when a guy calls up, JD, and says I'm not reasonable,
no, you have a problem with me getting any credit whatsoever, which is what happened there.
What do you mean?
he said I'm the reasonable one, which is giving me credit, and you're unhappy because you're not getting the credit.
No,
and you want the credit.
Not true. I have no problem with anybody.
You take me getting a compliment as you getting an insult.
Okay, so when somebody says, if somebody called up and said, Brian, you're the only smart one, would you take that as an insult or it's just a compliment to me?
I would take that. Well, if it said you're the only smart one.
He said you're the only reasonable one. Now, if he said, JD, you're very reasonable and I appreciate you, I've got no problem with that. He said you're the only reasonable one.
Okay, so you have a problem with, in his opinion, me being reasonable and you being unreasonable. Because you find yourself to be completely reasonable.
If he thinks I'm not reasonable, I'm willing to hear him out. I just want to hear what he has to say.
But I can't take the compliment and say thank you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But I can't say thank you when he calls me reasonable without. No, well, I didn't get a chance to because you said, well,
okay.
I'm going to stop you right there. So what I'm saying is you're turning it around to be about you when it was a compliment to me.
I will give you ample time to thank him right now.
No, I'm just telling you what took place there.
Okay,
but that's fine.
Well, he insulted me. He's saying I'm not a reasonable person.
No, he complimented me.
Oh my God,
and
Chris,
you took it as an insult to you.
So it's not an insult when he says you're the only reasonable one on the show. That's not an insult to me? Is that what you're saying?
It was a compliment to me. It wasn't an insult to you.
I would approach that as someone who listens to the show. That is absolutely an insult to Brian. It is a compliment to you, yes, JD, obviously, because he mentions you. But there's no question that it is a slight to Brian, the host.
Okay.
Let me throw my 2 cents in here. Apparently, the caller doesn't think that we have modern technology as we host this show here on the Vegas Take, and that we don't have access to actual information up to the minute. Well, we do, to the caller who tried to point out that Andrew Cuomo in some way said, oh, yes, there's some type of wide-scale theft going on with respect to protective equipment in New York City. I've been following Andrew Cuomo for years on Twitter. There's been no mention over the past 3 to 4 hours by Andrew Cuomo on his Twitter account about anything
what a
like
shocker.
that.
Let's get back to the phone
But he
calls.
had a press conference. He was on TV about a half hour ago.
Let's get back to the calls. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Mike?
How's it going, guys? So, JD, you are 100% right. I'm a healthcare worker here. And I know for a fact that things are being taken for personal use. We had a memo from the hospital that things were being taken and threats that if they were caught. And on top of that, everything had to be removed from the rooms because patients were taking everything, shoving it in their bags and leaving. So you're 100% right with that.
100% right on right that hundreds of thousands of masks are being stolen in hospitals throughout the country, or
yes, it happens at every hospital. Yes.
You know for a fact it happens at every hospital.
Yes, I work.
I mean,
there,
Brian,
so
this is the third person who works in healthcare that's told us this now.
Mm-hmm. So
and this is just in Nevada, where the issue is nowhere near as bad as it is in New York.
Have you ever?
And the panic is significantly less.
Have you seen someone yourself, sir, steal something from a hospital?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not stealing. People don't think of it as stealing. They think of it, taking supplies, taking Band-Aids, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think of it as stealing, but especially now they're,
So
they're
tell
taking
us what you
masks
saw.
to their family.
What
they
hospital?
Think of it as helping their family.
No, fair enough. What hospital do you work at, sir?
Which is the exact scenario I described.
I'm sorry, sir. What'd you say? What hospital do you work at?
He's not going to tell you what hospital he works at, Brian.
What kind of question is that?
All right, so apparently there, from what JD has said and what you've said and a couple of our other callers have said, there is widespread larceny across the board by the people that are on the front lines. And this is something that the President of the United States was very fair to point out in the press conference last night. And apparently you people have nothing. You have no problem with the President of the United States speaking in this way or addressing those people who are health officials across the country that are actually
again,
trying
Chris,
to stay alive.
it wasn't a small deviation. It was 20 times.
All right, so
obviously,
I just want to make that clear.
Obviously something is taking place at that point.
I have an idea that we probably will continue this conversation this week, but coming up next, a guy that's, this is affecting the sports world as we know it in a huge way. There are no sports really for the most part. The guy joining us next, he's the associate head coach at Wake Forest. He's a former NBA player, 10-year career, played with Allen Iverson, was coached by Larry Brown, standout player over there at Kansas. Rex Walters, NBA vet, will be joining us next, and we're going to ask him a little bit about what he thinks about the possibility of the NBA coming to Las Vegas as well. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take.